Hey, Scott Sambucci here, and I want to talk to you about obstacles or opportunity. Obstacle or opportunity. So it is now 5:34 a.m., and I'm sitting here in my garage on a Wednesday morning. Last night, I woke up at 3 in the morning, and I think like a lot of you, if you wake up at 3 in the morning, it's not intentional, but the work day starts to spin in your head a little bit. We've had a lot of really exciting things happening with our company. We just had a big live event, virtual, online event with our clients last week. We're brought on 3 new clients already this week. We're upgrading our entire client delivery system. We've just hired a sales rep. And with all of that excitement, there's also a lot of work to be done. And I think like a lot of you, as you're growing your company and looking at what's happening with the growth, you start to go into mode of oh, what about this and what about that, and you start to worry and some anxiety sets in. And so for me, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm laying there in bed wide awake and started thinking about this stuff, all the work that needs to be done today and this week and next month and in the next quarter. So I had a choice to make. And I could either lay there in bed and be frustrated, be upset about the fact that I'm not sleeping and let the anxiety and worry take over, or I could do something. And so I got up out of bed and started my day at 3 o'clock in the morning, did my journaling, drank some coffee, and then just came back from a 7-mile run. So I've knocked that out, and it's now 5:30 in the morning. 2 nights ago, or Monday night, had the same thing. Woke up, went to bed. I go to bed early. I get to bed around 8:30. Woke up around 12:30 as my wife was coming to bed, and same thing. Couldn't get back to sleep. So what did I do? Well, is that an obstacle? Do I get frustrated about that, or do I do something? And for me, right now, training for a 100-mile ultramarathon that's happening in 3 months' time, I thought to myself, well, how can I use this to my advantage? Well, at some point, I'm going to have to run through the night and get used to running without a lot of sleep. So I got up out of bed. My wife said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to go for a run." And of course, to her credit, it was not as much of a surprise as it might be. She said, "Okay, well, be careful. Bring a headlamp. Just watch for cars or whatever. I don't know what cars to look for." So strapped on my running shoes and went out the door and did a 5-mile run that night. Came back, had a little snack, back to bed before 2 a.m. and slept until 5 in the morning, started my day. And so those are just really quick examples, and I will talk more about how this relates to your work and yourself every day. Just 2 quick examples where I could look at those situations where my head's spinning and I'm excited and I'm starting to think through all the work that needs to be done and say, well, this is an obstacle. I got to get some sleep. It's about 12:30. I should be sleeping. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I should be sleeping. The alarm's going to go off in an hour. I need to get some more sleep. Or I could say, look, this is where it is. This is where I am right now. This is the situation. I can acknowledge it. I can accept it and take some action. And so I chose to take some action, turn that obstacle into an opportunity in both those cases. I'm sharing this with you because I think for all of us every day, over the last year, all of us have been faced with an enormous obstacle. And if you're still, still doing what you're doing that you were a year ago, congratulations. You made it. You made it this far. And I'm sure there's still a lot of work to be done, and I'm sure you're not nearly where you wanted to be, or maybe you're still struggling through trying to figure out if you can still make it through hopefully the last stretch of this pandemic. And if you have, awesome. If you haven't, and you're in a situation where maybe you're looking for work, or maybe you're reaching the end of your runway with your startup, and you're saying to yourself, I don't know if I can raise more capital. I think we might be done. I think we might be out of runway. I think we can't go back to more investors and ask for more bridge funding. We can't do another convertible note. We can't, we don't have the sales to justify the next big round. Again, it's okay. That's your situation, right? If that situation cannot really be changed fundamentally, then it's your decision. It's your choice, right? Is it an obstacle or is it an opportunity? It's an opportunity maybe to pivot the company. Maybe it's an opportunity to take a break from the startup. Maybe it's an opportunity to try something new. I had one of our clients a couple of years ago, a guy named Zach Stein, who we worked with, and he persevered through really difficult technical challenges with his company. And despite his best efforts, despite the best support from his investors, despite his team support, he hit the end of the road. He and his co-founder realized the technical hurdles ahead of them were too great, too big, too far ahead before they could really get to where they wanted to go. And he had to make that pivot. And so he went back to his investors and said, hey, we have some cash left, and made a complete pivot, and now started a company called Carbon Collective and down a completely new path and doing really well. And so, there's a lot of those stories. I know it's easy to look for confirmation bias and look for people that have made a successful transition or a successful pivot. And maybe that's what you need right now. Maybe that's the motivation that you need. Maybe those are the stories. And whether that big pivot or that big step, the way you treat that obstacles, whether it's an obstacle or an opportunity, maybe it doesn't have to be a big pivot. Maybe it's a small pivot, and a series of small pivots will lead you down the next path. I want to take this even further and just think about your daily work. Think about the obstacles that you might be thinking of. If you're a company founder and you're watching this or listening to this, and you think to yourself, what are the obstacles that you might be facing every day, right? For me, it's Wednesday morning, and you've got the day ahead, you've got the rest of the week. You might be thinking through the work you might have to do over the weekend, going up to the end of the quarter. What can we do to move the needle and get some deals converted so that we can get our Q1 number, make that pro forma look good for the investors for the round that I want to raise this spring. You might be thinking even farther ahead, April, May, June, team that you have to hire, capital you have to raise. It's easy to look at the day and say, let's take a couple of specific examples. Maybe you have a team member that's not performing well. Maybe it's somebody you hired recently. Maybe it's somebody who's been on the team for a while, and for whatever reason, they're just not meeting expectations anymore. So now you've got this opportunity, right? You can ask yourself a question: is this an obstacle? What am I going to do? Or is it an opportunity to say, well, what can we do? What am I doing wrong? Maybe it's me, right? Maybe I haven't set clear expectations. Maybe we haven't given this person the right support. Maybe I'm not really clear about what's going on in that person's personal life, and I've got to just ask them not to divulge, private information, but just hey, let's talk through where you are. What do you need? How can we help you? Let's turn this into an opportunity. Maybe the obstacle of that team member underperforming is an opportunity to move them to a new role. Maybe they've shifted. Maybe the role itself has shifted to the point where what they were doing 6 months ago is not the same work and production that needs to happen now. So it's not that the person is a bad person or a wrong fit. Maybe they're just in the wrong seat, and you've got to move that person around. There's potentially an opportunity there. If you look at your sales pipeline and you say, we've got a bunch of deals that are stalled. We got a bunch of deals we're trying to get over the line and convert them in Q1. Are these obstacles or are those opportunities? Each one of those, is there an opportunity to learn this from the situation? What did we do wrong? What could we do differently? How do we change course? How do we try new strategies? How do we try new techniques? What is the opportunity here to learn? What is the opportunity we have to make a change, right? So I think for a lot of us, we're all going to have obstacles every day. For me, it's getting up at 3 a.m. It was getting up at 3 a.m. or 2 nights ago, waking up at 12:30. So is it an obstacle or an opportunity, right? The last couple of days for me, during the day, in the afternoons from 2 to 6, I've been attending a workshop. Usually I'm the one delivering the workshop. In this case, I've been attending a workshop. And it's a group that I belong to. Belong to a group of coaches and consultants, people that run businesses like mine that help across different industries. And every 3 or 4 months, we get together for a 3-day event, 3 half-a-days. And it runs from 2 to 6. right? So that to me is it's a big constraint in the calendar, right? Because it's afternoon, it bleeds into dinner time where I'm usually helping out. We're on spring break right now. Good news is we've got a wonderful spring camp that they've been able to run here in town. But that also means my wife has to do pickup every day. I'm the one usually kicking off dinner, and that's going to start a little later every day. I'm trying to fit in the training that I'm doing for this 100-mile race between all of this. And so, and then on top of that, I'm running the company, and I've got my own client calls and coaching calls and talking to prospective clients that are interested and want to learn more about our program, working with our team to help build the systems that we need to support the growth. And so these are, I could look at my calendar, which is frankly, probably looks a lot like yours. It's freaking insane right now. It's absolutely insane. It was insane last week because we ran a masterclass and then we had our client event, and in between I had all kinds of calls. This week, I'm attending this workshop. We've got all of the follow-on from the client event, helping out clients, building out their next sales plans for the next 3 months. We've got prospective clients that came to the masterclass that want to join the program, so we got to talk to them, right? So you look at the calendar, and it's stacked. It's absolutely stacked, right? Again, I could look at that and try to think, well, what am I going to do about this training that I'm supposed to be doing? I'm 3 months away from the biggest race of my life. It's a race I've been trying to do now for almost 10 years, and I finally got in this race. Last year it was canceled because of COVID. And so now we're training again, three months away. It's the Western States 100. And again, I could look at this as an obstacle, or I could look at it as an opportunity. And the opportunity that I have is, number one, maybe scale back for a couple days, right? I've been training really hard since January 4th when I kicked off my training schedule, right? So that's a solid, 9-10 weeks of hard training. And one, it's an opportunity to maybe take a rest. Number two, it's an opportunity to think about how can I adjust my training when I have these kinds of days. And what I found is that between the workshop breaks, between the calls, one of the things I've been doing is doing my strength exercises. So I have a whole battery of strength exercises. I don't have the worksheet in front of me here, but it's a checklist. It's a checklist of about 15 different exercises that are based on core, based on leg strength, and these are just body weight exercises. These are stretches. These are things like air squats and step back lunges and crunches and all those kinds of things. And again, it takes about 45 minutes to run through this list. And so the obstacle is like, where am I going to find 45 minutes? I don't have a 45-minute block. It's I had to get up I just knocked out a run at 4:30 in the morning, and that's probably the only time today I'm going to have any time to do this. And so the opportunity that I found over the last couple of days is, well, what if I just did 3 or 4 of these exercises in small blocks during the breaks that we have in this workshop? We get, short 10-minute breaks. I can knock out 3 or 4. What about during the workshop itself, right? How many times have you been on a Zoom meeting or some other kind of event, and yeah, it's a 90-minute or 60-minute session, but can you listen, while doing stuff? So there are times where I've got my Zoom meeting on and I'm laying on the ground doing a plank, doing 2 minutes of plank, or doing a 2-minute wall sit, and still watching, what's going on, and still listening and still paying attention. But it was an opportunity for me to realize, like, I could fit in these exercises throughout the course of the day, any day. It doesn't have to be just because of this workshop. And not only that, by doing those exercises, it gives me a boost of energy. It's giving me some oxygen in my system. It's giving me some positive chemicals flowing through. And now at 3, 4 in the afternoon, when I might normally be dragging because I've been up for 12 hours, now I'm actually feeling pretty good. I don't need coffee. I don't need that boost of caffeine. I've got some natural energy boost because I'm staying active. So again, the obstacle turns into an opportunity if you allow it to, if you look for that. So, there's more I could share on this, and I think you're getting the point that I want to make at this point. And I want to just let you know that things are hard, right? When you're trying to do hard things, things are difficult. You're going to have obstacles. And so the question to ask is, are we going to, are you going to lament about the obstacle and worry about the obstacle and worry about what you're going to do about the obstacle, or do you look at that as an opportunity to take advantage of that? And so for me, at 3 o'clock in the morning or 12:30 in the morning yesterday, it was, this gift of time. It was an opportunity to go out and knock out a couple of runs that I may not have otherwise gotten in, right? And with whether it's a team member at work, if it's a sales opportunity, whether it's a product release that's gone awry, like, what are the opportunities that are presented to you when you've got these obstacles in front of you? So you've got this. I know you do. We've got this. So, all right. So that's it for now. Ask yourself, is it an obstacle or an opportunity? And I think if you turn the obstacle into an opportunity, you're going to find all kinds of openings, all kinds of new futures that you wouldn't have otherwise even thought exist. All right. Go farther. See ya.